Welcome to another edition of the Litigation Psychology Podcast, brought to you by Courtroom Sciences. Dr. Bill Kanasky. I mentioned something on the previous podcast, and I forgot to break it down. So we're just going to do part two to the Validity and Reliability podcast. Yeah, I jumped right into my egg yolk rant and forgot about talking about a really important topic, which is I'm just going to call this the death of the clopening in jury research. The clopening. What is a clopening? It's a combined opening and closing, closing and opening, clopening. It's a summary presentation of your case. You kind of put everything in there. Okay. So the plaintiff does their clopening at the beginning of your mock or focus group. Throw everything in there. Lasts 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half, whatever, 2 hours. All right. And then afterwards, you collect data from jurors. And then the defense puts on their clopening, right? This is how jury research has been done for decades, okay? And I have a problem with it because I think scientifically, okay, I think we have a validity problem. Remember, back to validity. Are you measuring what you think you're measuring, right? And you don't want to contaminate your validity by using poor measurement strategy, okay? So here's the problem with the clopening, which everybody still does. Everybody still wants to do it. It's not, I mean, I talk 99% of my clients, I talk them out of this. I'm going to tell you why right now, okay? Well, number one, real jurors don't hear clopenings. What do they hear? They hear openings. Then they hear witness break, witness break, witness break, witness break, witness break. Then they hear closings. That's how information is presented in every courtroom in this nation. There is no such thing as a clopening in any courtroom. Yet, that's what so many people want to do because they find it very efficient. Yet, you're going to suffer on validity because you're not measuring what you think you're measuring and you have significant contamination. Very, very important. We don't want contamination. Now, let me kind of explain to you how this works. So, in the clopening, it's typically a longer presentation. You have your PowerPoint slides. You have the ability to argue, unlike you do in a traditional opening statement. And you'll insert your witness clips in your clopening, right? And you put all that together. And the jury sits there and they have to absorb an incredible amount of information that they would never have to absorb in a real courtroom. In a real courtroom, they sit there for 30 minutes, listen to your opening. Then there's a little break. Then they sit there for another 30 minutes and listen to the other side's opening. Then there's a break, right? There's a natural divide in these stimuli in a real courtroom, which allows information to sink in and judgments to be made. Then you go do your jury research, right? And you just want to clump all this stuff together, okay? The cognitive load, okay, is incredible for the juror. It's entirely too much information at once. You want a juror to sit there and listen to the plaintiff's case or the defense case, the whole thing, and you're just going to give it to them all at once with no breaks and no data collection. Okay? Efficient? Perhaps. Valid? Not necessarily. Okay? So let's talk about this analogy. Let's say if you've ever been to wine country. Okay? You go to wine country, you're going to do a wine tasting. And they put put a flight, 5 or 6 little glasses of different red wines. Okay? Would you sample all 6 in a row? not have any water, just all 6 in a row, and then determine which one you liked best. Imagine that. All right, so I put a flight of red wine in front of you, and I tell you, hey, drink the first one, then drink the second one, then drink the third one, right? And then at the end of the 6, then I go, how would you compare wine number 1 versus wine number 3? Is that going to work? No. No. And that's what a clopening is. You're giving all this information. The cognitive load's through the roof, and then you're asking them for data. Imagine that. And then you're going to say, oh, by the way, okay, so now compare wine number 2 and number 6 from the flight that I just gave you. It's impossible. You're not going to get good data. And that's what happens with the clopening. And the reason everybody does it this way because that's the only thing they know. It doesn't mean it's correct. So to increase your validity, and importantly, the sensitivity of your data measurement. See, when you use this wine concept, right, you're losing sensitivity because you're giving them all 6 wines and asking for all the data collection at the end. It's going to be garbage data. And the last thing you want in litigation is garbage data. You're investing time, money, energy into gathering data. You should probably think about doing it the right way. Okay? So in your mock jury exercises, okay, space things out. So if you're doing a mock trial, set it up the traditional way. Do a traditional opening and then immediately collect data on that opening. That'd be like saying, okay, here's wine number 1, try it. You good? All right, now fill out this little questionnaire on the qualities of wine number 1. Then you're going to take a drink of water, cleanse your palate. Wine number 2. Take a sip of that, swish it around, okay? All right, let's fill out this questionnaire on wine number 2. And then you work all the way through 6. Now you'll get good data. You'll get valid data. Doing it that way versus doing all 6 at once and then testing at the end. In fact, you're going to get crazy different data. Your data is going to be much better testing after every glass of wine. And that's why you want to do your jury research the exact same way. Okay? Do a plaintiff opening. Test the story. Decrease the cognitive load. Test the story. Collect data immediately. Defense. Traditional opening. Test the story. Collect data immediately afterwards. Now, same thing with witnesses. If you put all the witnesses in the clopening, it's back to the wine tasting, right? Now you're okay. Say you showed 7 witness clips in your clopening, and now after the clopening, you're going to have jurors go back and rate the witness. Get out of here! No. That is not going to happen. Well, it's going to happen, but it's not going to happen correctly. You want good data. So what do? Do it like they do in a courtroom. If you're going to do a mock trial, do it like they do in a courtroom. Opening, plaintiff, take your measurement. Defense, opening, take your measurement. Get rid of all this clopening stuff, right? You'll have much better much better accuracy and sensitivity to your measurement. Now with witnesses, put on the witnesses. Witness 1, measurement. Witness 2, measurement. Witness 3, measurement. Witness 4, you will get fantastic data. Versus the clopening, where they sit there for an hour and a half, sometimes even 2 hours. I've seen these. And then they sit through all that. So cognitive load, you've totally overwhelmed them cognitively. Then you're going to say, okay, give me these ratings on witness number 2. Yeah, by the way, that happened an hour and 10 minutes ago. No, that's not how the juror brain works. In a trial, that's not how it works. What happens? It's witness 1, witness 2, witness 3, and there's breaks in between. And jurors take notes, and they have a time period to determine how they feel about the witness at trial. So you mimic that in your mock trial, even your focus group, which I'll get into in a second, right? Then once you do that, you do truncated closings at the end. Same thing. Plaintiff closing, measurement. Defense closing, measurement. If there's a rebuttal, measurement. That's how you'll get the best data. Because if you clump it all together in these clopenings, once the jury starts, you start collecting data from the jury, everything's contaminated and mixed. It's like the wine tasting, right? Once they've sipped all 6 wines and they haven't had a chance to let it sit in, cleanse their palate, and then you're going to ask them about the difference between wine number 3 and wine number 5? It's impossible. Oh, they'll give you data. It's just going to be garbage, invalid data. I think that's something we want to avoid. It's a much better system to get your measurement immediately after the stimulus.
It's a very good system.
Look, Goodfellas reference there. It's a very good system. Let's do that one more time. Goodfellas is fantastic. Henry Hill.
It's a very good system.
Uncle Polly had a system, a slice in the garlic. You got to have a good system. The clopening is really, it's an efficient system, but you need an effective. Efficiency doesn't really get you anywhere in scientific measurement. It does the opposite. You need an effective system, right? So what do you do if you're doing focus group instead? Right? Well, focus group, again, you should have one presenter, not 2 attorneys going at each other, because that's going to contaminate everything with persuasion. Okay? And you take your measurements immediately after the stimulus. So in focus groups, you're not really doing the opening, closing witnesses and stuff. You're going issue by issue. Do issue 1, collect data immediately. Issue 2, collect data. Then, here's the key. If you want to have witnesses being tested in your focus group, all you have to do is isolate them. So you have a key case. So you're going to do your issue 1 presentation. Okay. Collect data on that. Then tell the jury, okay, now there's 2 key witnesses to issue 1. I'm going to play you a 10-minute clip of number 1. You play it, collect data immediately, and then witness number 2, collect data immediately. That's how you do it in the focus group format. That's how you're going to get your very, very, very best data. You want accuracy. You want validity. And so the timing of your measurements is essential. You can't ask a juror for a measurement to something they heard an hour ago. And that was mixed in with a whole bunch of other stuff. So kind of use that wine tasting analogy. And when you're setting up your jury research, think about those questions. So anytime I sit down with clients, I say, okay, what do you want to measure? And here's, of course, what you guys tell me every single. Well, I've done 15 mock trials, and I know you do a clopening and blah blah. It's like, okay, well, maybe you did 15 of them that are wrong. Let's do it this way. And then when they get the data, they're thrilled. Our clients are thrilled. Going, oh wow, I didn't know we could do it this way. But if you think about it, that's how jurors are making decisions during trial. Okay? Things are coming in a logical order. They're separated. There's a chance to digest this information. So do your jury research the same way, whether it's mock trial or whether it's focus group. Research research is difficult, and what ends up happening is you have non-scientists, doing science, and then you can get, I think the worst thing you can get is garbage, is garbage data, particularly on the witnesses, because the witnesses are so important, right? So you want really accurate data on that. The only way you can get the accurate data is to take the measurement at the time, okay? Now, here's kind of another way to do this, particularly in the focus group. We do a lot of focus groups. I think are 10 times better than mock trials in most situations for a number of reasons. But one of them is say you're presenting on your issue, and you want to present the witness within the issue, not at the end of the issue, right? Okay, that's fine. So you're going to give your, say, little presentation, and then you want to go, okay, now let me show you, I want to show you a 10-minute clip of this witness, and you play the witness. But you still got half your presentation left. So what do? After you play the witness, take a little time out and go, okay, we want to collect data on this particular witness. It takes 3 minutes. And then once you collect the data, you pick up your presentation and proceed, okay? So think about this podcast as when you're taking your measurements has a major, major impact on validity of the accuracy of the measurement. You want to take it immediately after the stimulus. And the problem is, it's really difficult, it's impossible to do that in the clopening, right? The only reason the clopening came to exist is, again, it's an efficiency-based model. We rarely really do that now unless some client just screams that, oh no, this is what we're doing. And I tell them, like, we're not going to get the very best data, okay? And so as we talk and we educate our clients, most of them, once we kind of lay this out about how the sensitivity of the measurement is impacted, then they go, oh, wow. Oh, wow. And by the way, what does a clopening get you? Who does, again, who's ever, email me if you've ever done a clopening in a real trial. Because I'd like to hear about it, because I don't think it exists. It doesn't. It's a shortcut. And shortcuts in research lead to problems. How about in medical research? You think there are shortcuts there? I certainly hope not. You don't want them doing shortcuts there, do you? Right? So as you're designing your research, think about, okay, I want accuracy, I want sensitivity of my measurement. Let's space this stuff out. Let's isolate the stimuli, and let's take measurement immediately after the stimuli. I see this done with experts too. They'll have they'll do the clopening, and like, okay, we want a separate section with experts, and they go and they play 4 videotapes of experts, back to back to back to back. And then afterwards, and that takes 2 hours, at 30 minutes a clip. And then afterwards, you're going to collect data. No. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. The truth of the matter is that there's a lot of shortcuts taken in jury research, and clients do not know the consequences of these shortcuts. I mean, that is the truth of it. Okay? It is, it is what it is.
You can't handle the truth.
Well, you better handle it, because listen, these are easy fixes. Now, here's the pushback. Well, I've done 17 mock trials. I've done 17 focus groups. I've been trying cases for 30 years. Like, this is the only way I've done it. I'm not comfortable. But, you need to get over that. You need to get over that. Okay? It's a better way to do things. I explained this let me tell you a quick story, and then I'll let you guys go. So I'm out to dinner with a new client, and I had been prepping witnesses for them all day. It's my first interaction, so I have the defense attorney, and the corporate client, the head of litigation. We're out to dinner at a steakhouse. And they're very, very pleased with our methodology, which, as you know, is highly sophisticated, highly scientific when it comes to witness training. They were thrilled. They're like, oh, wow. So that dinner, they're like, well, tell us about the jury research. And I kind of reversed the question. I'm like, well, I know on this particular case, you've already done your jury research. I'm like, tell me how you typically do it, and I'll kind of tell you if we do it the same or we do it different. Just kind of tell me. And they walk me the whole, oh, we've been using company X for like the last 5 years, and this is kind of our standard research setup. I looked right, this is right at the head of litigation. I looked right at him and said, well, that's no good. And he kind of looked at me in shock. He said, well, what do you mean it's no good? I go, well, that methodology, you're going to hurt your validity, and your data is not going to be, your measurement's not going to be sensitive enough. Because look at where you're taking the measurements. You're doing your clopenings, then taking the, so I went through the whole thing. I went through the wine analogy with them. I went through this whole podcast is essentially what I told them. Now everybody's got like filet mignons in front of them. Everybody dropped their forks and just listened for 15 minutes while I talked about this, about scientific measurement and the risks of cognitive load on jurors. And everybody's sitting there going like, holy shit. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I go, well, yeah, because that's how you measure, right? This is science. I mean, the name of the company is called Courtroom Sciences, right? Clopenings, you're really kind of killing the science. And here's what you're doing. You're putting efficiency over science. When you do the clopening model, and there'll be a million people out there that are going to argue with me, and they're more than welcome to either come on the podcast or call me, and they're going to lose that argument. Okay? Now, I'm not saying doing jury research I'm not saying it's useless. I'm not saying it's useless. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is your data collection and the accuracy and sensitivity of it is compromised by definition because of cognitive load and timing. Guys, all this can be fixed. All this can be fixed, but you have to change your methodology and collect your data at better time points. And this is, again, mock trials or focus groups. So, take that for what it's worth. But if you work with me, that's the way I'm going to try to persuade you to do it. Because, I have to put my name on all this stuff. So do my colleagues. And we want the best data possible for you so you're making good decisions. And you'll be amazed on the difference in the data between doing the clopening and doing it the more isolation way, where you're taking your measurement immediately. It's very, very different data because you've decreased the cognitive load. When you decrease the cognitive load, you're not overwhelming jurors, you get better data. Again, so next time you think about this, or next time this comes up, think about the wine tasting. Right? Think about the wine tasting and think about how you're doing your jury research. Think about that measurement. And if you're at the wine tasting, how are you going to get the most accurate measurement on wine tasting? It's going to be one wine at a time. Cleanse the palate, right? So it's going to be wine, measurement, cleanse palate. Wine, measurement, cleanse palate. Wine, measurement, cleanse palate. And that's exactly how you want to do your jury research. This is Dr. Bill Kanasky, Litigation Psychology Podcast, brought to you by Courtroom Sciences. We will see you next time.